Hi, once again, this is Mohana Priya, IT Professor, Dr. SNSRCAS College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. And today, this video going to explain about a requirement specification. In my last video, I fully discussed about requirement gathering and analysis, and this is the continuous process after that requirement gathering and analysis, which is the important phase in software lifecycle model, that is requirement analysis and specification. So today we are going to discuss detail about requirement specification in software engineering course. Yeah, come on, let enter into the session. And the main aim of the requirement specification is to systematically organize the requirements arrived during the requirement analysis phase, and finally and documenting the requirements properly. That document is called as SRS, that is Software Requirement Specification Document. And the SRS document is useful in various contexts. It consists of the statement of users' needs, and also it acts like a contract between the customer and the business, that is development team, and it can be reference document to the entire development process of software product, and also it gives the definition for implementation of your proposed product. And how a software requirement specification document can act like as a contract document, because it is a contract between the development team and the customer. So once the SRS document is approved by the customer, there is no controversies may be happen in the development team. If it is so, they can claim using by this contract, that is SRS document. And once customer agrees to the SRS document, the development team starts to develop the product according to the requirement recorded in the SRS document. The final product will be acceptable to the customer once the final product is satisfied the contents what we give in SRS document. And we'll see how the SRS document and what are the parts of SRS document. So generally SRS document is known as a black box view, that is we cannot know the internal details of SRS document, only it is visible for the external, that is it shows only input and output. We don't know how was the processing taken inside this based on the 10 bit and how it produced the output. So completely we can say SRS document will explain what needs to be done. It never says how to do the aspects. It never discusses about the how to do aspects. And SRS document serves as a contract. That means we already discussed. It is a contract between the development team and the customer. So when you are writing the SRS document, you should write carefully. The requirement at this stage written using end user technology. Fully, the SRS document is fully written based on the end user terminology. So, if necessary, the development team may convert the SRS document into formal requirement specification. There is FRS document. What are the properties of a good SRS document? A good SRS document should be concise, and also it should specify what the system must do and not say how to do it. And SRS document should be easy to change, and it should be consistent, and it should be complete. And also it should be traceable. It could be traceable to any phases or any development person who are all developing the product. And also it should be verifiable, and it should be user friendly. So SRS document normally contains three important parts. One is functional requirements, and second one is non-functional requirements, and third one is goals of implementation. So this is a simple definition about how the SRS document is working. So SRS document working based on it performs some functions. A function requires some input data to produce some output data. So that transformation will be done in SRS document. And first part of SRS document is functional requirement system. In this functional requirement discusses about the high level requirement of the system. That means it discusses about what are the input needed for the software or needed for the system, and what are the processes to be taken which uses the input to produce the output. So it consists of only three parts. One is input data set and output data set, and processing record to obtain the output data set from the input data set. So this will be given in functional requirement. And non-functional requirements, other than that input process output statement, other requirement is represented in non-functional requirements such as maintainability issues, portability issues, usability issues, performance issues, and hardware software issues. Everything will be given in non-functional requirements such as reliability issues, performance issues, human computer interface issues, and interface with other external system issues, security, maintainability. These will be discussed in non-functional requirement. So some other examples of non-functional requirement includes hardware to be used, what operating system needed to develop the product, and what are the capabilities of IO devices, and standard compliance about the developing process and data representation of the product. And final part of the SRS is goals of implementation. It describes things that are desirable to the system. So this goals of implementation part will explain what is the main objective and what are the benefits of the proposed system will be discussed in this part. But it will not be checked for compliance. For example, it discusses about reusability issues, functionality to be developed in future, but it would not be checked for compliance. And how to organize the SRS document. So first you must give the introduction about the proposed system and what are the functional requirements required for this proposed system, just input data, processing data, and output. And second part is non-functional requirement, that is it discusses external interface requirements and performance requirements. And finally the third part is goals of implementation of the proposed system. And what are the examples for bad SRS document? A bad SRS document, it is difficult to change and difficult to precise and difficult to be unambiguous and scope for contradictions, these are extra. And also a bad SRS document will have some noises. Noises means the SRS document may have the irrelevant data, that is called as noise. And silence. So that particular place, it needs more detail about that particular feature, but that will be missed means that is called as silence. And over specification. Over specification restricts the solution space for the designer, again and again insisting and telling about a single message again and again is called as what? Over specification. And contradictions might arise if the same thing described at several places in different ways. This is called as contradictions. Ambiguity, this is literacy expressions. And forward references, references to aspects of problems referring to some other document. This document will refer some other document is called as forward references. And wishful thinking, whatever the analyst and customer thinking about the product, everything would write in SRS document is called as wishful thinking. So these are all the bad characteristics of SRS document. And so this video clearly explains about requirement specification phase in software lifecycle model, and this video may help to develop a good SRS document for the proposed problem.